The Nintendo DS is a cult classic console. Almost every human being around the age of 25 grew up using it, playing stuff like Pokemon, maybe Mario Kart DS, the best video game ever made, or they played some grandma slop like Wacky Races Crash and Dash. Yep. For every one great game on the DS, there's 5 pieces of filth to run laps around it. The amount of dirt on this console is genuinely hard to wrap your mind around. So today, we're going to see what the bottom 10 are, according to the establishment, the enemies over at Metacritic. And what's the first rusted Beyblade we're letting rip? It's Deal or No Deal, getting a score of 20. Why is that? Well, Deal or No Deal DS is quite literally the bare minimum of what you can even call a game. The whole loop is you picking a random case to start, hoping, keyword, there is a large sum of bones contained within. Then you need to continue picking other cases, whittling the numbers down in hopes of them having lower amounts of money. After every few stylus taps, the banker will ring the pedestal that should have a phone on it, giving you an offer based on what might be inside of your case and what's remaining on the board. Say if you opened 5 cases and all the numbers were low, our legendary Shadow Man will offer a higher amount of money because the $1 million could still possibly be in our case. You can either say deal or no deal to him, just like the name of the game. If you accept, the game ends. If you decline it, you continue on picking cases until you either get a deal you're happy with, or until there are no cases left, making you get whatever amount of money that's contained within your initially chosen case. And best of all, we get Xbox 360 Mike Howie Mandel to give his input throughout our quest.
Uh-oh, that's bad. You did not need that. No! I'm sorry, that hurts.
With all that said, I'm sure you can see how stupid the whole concept for Deal or No Deal is. All I'm saying is hope, might, and probably. The entire game is RNG. All you're doing is hoping your case has 1 million clams in it. There is no skill, there's no strategy, and when it comes to the video game, you can't even lose. I mean, I guess if you make a bad deal, or your case has a low amount of money, you technically lose. But can you really say you did, though? You're not actually losing anything. Oh no, I lost out on fake 2007 DS money. How can life go on? And now that I think about it, you can't even really win either. If you did happen to get the $1 million, you just get it. You can't spend it on stupid trinkets or drop it on whatever the new hottest NFT YouTuber scam is. It just goes away. There are serious arguments people could make if whether this is a video game or not. It's the equivalent of putting dots on a blank Microsoft Paint canvas. You can call that a game if you really wanted to. Is it actually though? Thankfully, our friends over on the development team had a Jimmy Neutron brain blast, realizing that exact thing, and added 2 extra minigames to our case hunting extravaganza. One is having you find 3 correct cases to open up a safe and win more fake money. The other is you opening a case, seeing the amount inside, then guessing whether the one you are going to open next is going to be higher or lower. Yay! Fun! This game is a circus in cartridge form. I talked about Deal or No Deal on the TV show games video recently. I couldn't imagine this took more than a few weeks to rub out to the masses. It's pathetic. Not a soul is going to be entertained by Deal or No Deal. And what's even stranger, I just have to mention it for this video, there's somehow another one. It's not rated on Metacritic, so it's some bonus knee-slapping entertainment we get here. This is the elusive Deal or No Deal game. Doctors everywhere hate this guy. Deal or No Deal Special Edition, already hitting with the disappointments when you simply turn it on. Why did they change Howie into this bobble-headed freak? I miss my Xbox 360 Mike Howie. This one also says some weird shit, like when he stops the game and says, "Come on, let's cheer up Big Nips. So what was your craziest dream?" Wonderful. Did he want me to talk to myself? Here we go, question mark. Which one suits you? Strange way to ask which case I want, but sure. Come on, let's make some noise for Big Nips. No regret. Are you right? What a luck. What? Special Edition is the same filth as the other one, except here we have actual minigames included, where you tap on sliding ladies holding plus $100, we tap ice and break it off a case to win the money inside, and a few other similar trivial minigames. But I'll give Special Edition some credit. The earned money can be spent on something. this sad, pathetic excuse of a Monopoly board. We can get a new fake car, a new fake house, a boat. I didn't say it was cool, I just said you can spend it on something. I have a very strong, anxiety-riddling feeling a lot of Metacritic's games are going to be this. I just hope, like I hoped for my RNG video game case, that it won't be the situation. Please, Homie Roller with a Z, can your score of 23 be the blessing we all need? Willie G in your 4 wheels of steel, let us take over the universe in this twisted metal ass plotline. Seriously, this thug named Wizard is hosting a racing tournament, and the winner will get any wish they desire. Yeah, I guess it's the most simple Lorio you could drop to give a reason for this ragtag group of goons to come together, racing on various tracks, with some of the most stiff turning my fingers have been tormented to deal with. It's one of those situations where you need to flip the console around and let the other person play it just to understand how it feels. If you even tap left or right, the car, or in my case, motorized wheelchair, does this trigonometry grade school math class turn that you can barely control. Homie Roller's handling has to be a weird esoteric beast in the kart racing community that not many souls have mastered. No joke, Eminem's kart racer controls better than this. The only insight I'm given to aid in getting through the track is lean. Are we talking Robitussin and Sprite, or what? Shockingly no. What this actually means is you being able to lean your vehicle, helping you turn easier than only using the left and right directionals. So if you can't handle the infamous D-pad, using the left and right triggers would be a better option for you to attempt defeating your rivals, that are no simpletons, by the way. I wasn't expecting it, but Homie Rollers is actually pretty hard, mainly because if you make one mistake, like falling into a hole early on or getting eaten up by a bunch of projectiles, it's practically impossible to win. Everyone drives so fast, it becomes Hydrogen Bomb versus Coughing Baby, the video game. There's no way to catch up. You need to come in first place to unlock the next level too, which is much easier said than done. Whenever you do happen to get a you are winner moment, you're able to upgrade your vehicle using Respect, the game's currency. That doesn't seem to give you a discernible difference when playing, making me question if the system even works or not. Maybe it's there to make you feel better? I don't know. All I can say is I made it to track 7 with Joka Wild, Clown Man, whatever you want to call him, continuously upgrading my car to ascend the grease and oil food chain, seeing how many nutrients can be extracted from the whole endeavor, and the upgrades didn't do much for me. But I did start to realize something at this point. I don't think the core gameplay itself is as hard as I initially thought it was. Whenever I raced on these more open tracks, I almost always won no issue. It was only the tighter tracks where I had those moments I needed to keep restarting. It appears the track you're racing on is what dictates how difficult the race will be. Nothing else. It doesn't matter how much respect you put into your car or anything of the sorts. If you're racing in the haunted house, getting backheeled by decorative skeletons that somehow always hit you when you go by them, maybe you're on the moon, stuck next to your opponents that all have obnoxiously sized hitboxes that stop all your momentum when a pixel of your car grazes their no-touch zone, that's when the races are difficult. There isn't really any skill involved, just vintage, awful physics and serious collision problems. And for games this simple, it kinda does ruin the experience. Even when I eventually got accustomed to dealing with how rancid the handling was, thanks to being an ever-adapting human, I still couldn't stop the physics monster. If I'm in these small streets and I have scallywags stopping my speed by existing anywhere close to me, I cannot conquer the Wizard games without restarting small track races 500 times. What I said earlier still stands. If you mess up early on or you get stuck and put in 8th place, you cannot win. You're always getting defeated. You're an OnlyFans subscriber. It's only when these tracks are more open and these problems aren't highlighted as badly is the moment Homie Rollers is going to become remotely playable. Obviously, not everything is going to be a Mario Kart, nor should people expect that. But can we make something people spend money on consistently playable? I think that's a fair thing to ask for. I couldn't imagine the poor adolescents who played this game had a good time with it and had the urge to pop it out and play something different the entire time, like Thundercats, getting a score of 28. At first, I seriously thought they made a DS game in 2012 about a TV show from 1985, which would have been a very bizarre choice. Apparently, the show got rebooted in 2011 for one season only, and this game was designed to capitalize on the hype. Or was it because the game was cheap to shit out? Can you guess which one is the real reason? Probably, it's the DS, so the reason is both. We get to play as Lion-O, slicing and dicing Mumra's forces through a multitude of 2D battlegrounds, press an A, and press an A, and press an A, and press an A. That's it. You're blessed with one super move of shooting out a red laser, doing big damage, I think. Enemies and bosses don't have health bars, which is a questionable choice, mainly because some bosses take millenniums to defeat. My first encounter with Mumra took around 10 to 15 minutes just to win. Me dying undoubtedly layered on a few of those minutes, but during the actual fight, I had no idea how close I was to defeating him or not. Is it that criminal to let the player know how much more damage they need to deal? I feel like it's important information. I guess it doesn't matter too much. Each boss in Thundercats is a slugfest regardless of that. Like when I had to fight the Little Shop of Horrors, you start the battle with 500 seconds, and I clocked out of the battle with 149 left. I was doing this for around 6 minutes. It does get kind of obnoxious. You battle them, you repeatedly press A, using a special attack when the stars align, or calling in one of these support characters that you slowly rack up throughout your playthrough. And when I say rack them up, I mean getting 4, with 3 of them having different attacks. You select one on your bottom screen, you tap them, everything stops, they let it rip, usually killing the weaker enemies instantly, or presumably doing a lot of damage to bosses. Willy Kit and Willy Cat are the only unique ones. When you summon them, you get power-ups like health or a damage increase, which is kind of overpowered. If you need health, just activate them, eat your meals, and continue pressing A. They trivialize the game tenfold. With that power in your back pocket, the game's kinda brain dead. The only consistent frustration you need to deal with is not being able to block. And I do understand that. You know, tilting your sword and putting it in front of you is a very difficult task not many can pull off. So we should all start cherishing those moments in games more than we currently do. Even when a character has something called a claw shield, he still cannot block. It's not possible. Outside of that, there really isn't anything going on with Thundercats, to be honest. It's almost astounding to me how little substance it has. You get no new combos, no new special attacks, no new attacks in general. You just swing and swing and swing, calling in the squad here and there, with the occasional platforming segments that are pube-tearing levels of rage-inducing. Lion-O cannot ball, jumps are not his strong suit. It's incredibly delayed and stiff when you are going through the air, jumping from platform to platform, and these guys are expecting me to escape from a collapsing cavern with a handicap like that? Yeah, right. Leave him to the things he's good at, like walking in a straight line, swinging his sword without any thought. That's what Lion-O was born to do. Don't take it away from his grubby paws, just slide him a participation trophy and a copy of Godzilla Unleashed Double Smash so he can find out who the real king of the number 28 truly is. It's not going to be an easy battle. When you're going against Godzilla and friends, how could you possibly beat that? Look at this, using both screens with the environments? I kinda like it actually. For DS, graphically, this looks pretty good. Can that be said about the gameplay? Fuck no it can't. Godzilla Double Smash might actually be worse than Thundercats. You start out picking 2 different monsters, one ground beast for the bottom screen and one flyer for the top screen, because the gimmick, or mechanic if you will, is all about the player swapping between the two, blowing up planes and blowing up more planes, until you reach a building or structure. It's a Godzilla game, so they are legally required to be destroyed. I say legally because it comes off as them existing simply due to Godzilla monsters no liking cement. Cement must be destroyed. You press various 3-button inputs for upwards of a minute to knock it down and get an invincibility power-up, then we continue knocking planes out of the sky. And to pull that ritual off, both of our monsters are given 2 melee attacks and a projectile. All the top monsters share the same small blue line laser ass weapon as a projectile. The bottom monsters have a variation of atomic breath going across the screen, obliterating everything, being very powerful, obviously. Initially, I wasn't aware you could use these special attacks willy-nilly, but the instant I made that discovery, ground monster beam all day. 1, because it instantly kills all the normal enemies. 2, punching and kicking is unbelievably janky. You need to be oddly patient between melee attacks. If you keep pressing B or A when trying to hit an enemy, the attack animation resets every time you press the button and you don't hit anything. You realize it the most during boss fights. But honestly, you shouldn't even try doing melee combat with them anyways. They are going to chew you up spit you into a bowl of ramen and cook your ass if you even try. So what you do instead is spam the special attack with your ground monster until you win. If your health ever starts getting low, switch to the top monster, shoot your little blue lines when you can damage the boss. A lot of the time it's pointless to even play as the flyer during a boss fight. They seem to exist only so you have something to do while your bottom monster's health regenerates. This tactic works on every boss though. It becomes a chicken cutlet brain scenario. And just like Thundercats, you repeat this straightforward process for the entire game on the all new, barely ever changing environments. Yeah, for some odd reason, you keep playing on the same levels multiple times until you move on to a new one. To continuously fight planes and more planes, you break a building and fight a boss monster, spamming the same attack forever. If we sit here and compare Thundercats and Godzilla, a very important discussion, we are talking about the ultimate battle of 28 after all. I honestly think I'm taking Thundercats over this. Sure, the core gameplay of the two are just side-scroller, beat-em-up, slop-ass dirt, but at least Thundercats had one combo to pull off that worked smoothly, and not all the bosses were exploitable by pressing one button. Godzilla definitely wins in the graphics department, that's not even an argument. At the end of the day though, the gameplay is more important, even when you're doing a comparison with two games that are terrible. So Thundercats can be added to the short list of monsters that have taken down Godzilla. I never knew today would be the day of reckoning. Unfortunately, the next one isn't really a game. It's called Ping Pals. It got a score of 28, and this thing is like a fake natural Picto chat. If you don't know what that is, it's a DS chat room that worked over Wi-Fi, where you could draw pictures and message each other. It was a feature built into the console. Ping Pals is a game you need to buy that was essentially the same thing, with a couple other games included that are all text-based. I don't understand the reason for Ping Pals to be on our planet. What's the point of it when you have Picto chat built into the console for free? It's one of the most pointless things I've ever seen. So we're skipping over that and moving on to an actual game, Duke Nukem Critical Mass, that got a score of 29. The only entry I've ever played in this series is Duke Nukem Land of the Babes, which was not that great, and supposedly this one isn't either. Rather than being your typical 3D shooter type game, it's an amalgamation of different genres. We start off in a destroyed city, trudging through it in a side-scrolling view, blasting away at piggies, getting armor, jumping at a comically high height to ascend balconies and run around on rooftops. I found a sniper rifle up here where I transcend into a minigame, having you control your aim with a stylus, or in my case, a Logitech G Pro with 1600 DPI, so controlling this boomstick was much more challenging than it otherwise would have been. After blasting away a few enemies, I continued on in my 2D plane, having a self-explainable loop. You run, you shoot, you kill, and try not to die, while finding a few new weapons here and there. By using your tenacity and wit, eventually you will finish level 1, and transition over to a top-down 2D shooter, using your jetpack to blast at more mutant pigs who are shooting jasmine rice and barreling red crayons towards you. This is what I was referring to when I said an amalgamation of genres. Throughout your playthrough, there are moments you need to switch up what you're doing or how you play. Upon completing the top-down war zone, you are then plunged into a 3D arena, running around shooting a boss. Yeah, it is pretty grimy. While I'm shooting this robotic spider, it looks like Duke is stroking the gun rather than shooting it, and controlling your aim with a stylus can be hairy, but it's nice to see them utilizing the gimmick of a DS to a decent capacity while not being over-reliant with touch controls. It always seems games either do it too much or don't use it at all. More importantly, having this variety helps alleviate the boredom of playing the side-scroller segments, repeatedly shooting the same few enemy types, grabbing guns, running through levels, sucking your thumb. Without these other additions, this would essentially be the same as the last few games we played, performing the most mindless task possible, pressing 2 to 3 buttons over and over again. Handheld games can be much more than that. Is Critical Mass the greatest DS game since the forbidden, beyond rare McDonald's Japan exclusive employee training cartridge? Not even close. I just don't see how anyone could say it's this bad. We got done playing fucking Deal or No Deal, Thundercats, where you press one button for an eternity, Homie Rollers that has Satan awful handling and borderline unplayable physics on small tracks, and a Godzilla game that is not going to astroturf me into believing that is how a Godzilla game should be. Give me Duke all day, every day over those. Now, is this praise contrast bias? Possibly. There are apparent problems with this game that are easy to point out. I don't fully understand when you're leaning on the wall and shoot your gun down an alleyway, the entire screen needs to shake like that, or the fact we're playing one of those oh so blessed gems where you need to restart an entire 10-minute level when you die a single time. And in some of them, there are hardly any health pickups, making the situation even worse. But even with those pieces in mind and all the other flaws you could probably dig up and scoop out, you can still call this a game. Someone could get entertainment from it, there is variety, it controls well enough, it's not that bad. Critical mass is mediocre, falling smack dab in the middle of the gaming lexicon. No one's gonna get FOMO by seeing it, and no one's gonna go feet first into a wood chipper by playing it. It's Webster's Dictionary video game. So we need to PS1 action bass the situation and bring it back to a game that will keep us on track. Maybe. Toy Shop, getting a score of 31. This is one of those business simulator type games where you build a store how you want it to be, running the pockets of civilization on an hour-to-hour basis, becoming what McDonald's is to all local restaurants. No one can end the one slop stop. In this case, our slop is toys that we're selling to the public, having the slowest progression I have ever seen in my entire life. Naturally, there isn't a lot to delve into with this genre, so this is the only value I could extract that is worth mentioning. This dystopian society we are trying to sell our goods in do not want to part with their money. The ever-flowing customer base of one person at a time hardly ever wanted to buy anything, even when I was charging $1 or $2 more than it cost to make. You obviously need to make money and sell toys to continue unlocking the newer, more extravagant ones, building your empire, flattening all the ones around you with a steamroller. Sadly, I could not accomplish that task. Over an hour of playtime, grinding my life away making toys, barely selling them, almost going bankrupt. I was seriously scraping $100 throughout a majority of my time playing. I'm not fully sure how many hours they expect you to put into Toy Shop just to hover slightly off the ground as a business, but goddamn, if it wasn't for the slug-ass economy, Toy Shop would probably be every other run-a-store video game out there. It wouldn't be the greatest ever, it would just be less torturous. Instead, all you can do is swallow the slowest progression in history, or occasionally go out into the open world talking to people that almost all say a quote from every vanilla small talk conversation ever. There's no sense of dragging this on any further. I don't believe you could say Toy Shop is a bottom 10 DS game. This entry can kinda kiss my ass. There's just one flaw that affects the entire game. If that was changed, there would be no major issues. Simple as that. And as it goes with the DS, we are not done with the mundane entries or questionable games, something I feared in the beginning. Here we have Jenga World Tour. It got a score of 32 alongside endless amounts of question marks. Why does this exist? You can buy the real thing and play it by yourself. Jenga is a game you can play solo. I guess it's an interesting specimen to look at for how a lot of companies viewed the Nintendo DS and the Wii. If you have an idea, just release it. Don't even bother putting a second thought in. There's no reason to. Who cares if there's a market or not? Doesn't matter when you're spending belly button lint to create your game. Some goober grandma will purchase Jenga World Tour for little Bobby. Little Bobby will have his slop. He will eat his slop. He will like his slop. Dragging his little stylus on the screen, pulling make-pretend pieces of wood out from a Jenga tower instead of doing it himself in the real world. Grandma didn't want Bobbert to get a splinter. The only real takeaways I have for this game is that I am a beast. I beat the entire game in about 25 minutes. I waxed every bizarre looking creature that entered my realm and left as the king of this depressing alternate reality I'm taking part in, to stumble into another sad world called Best of Test DS, getting a score of 32 as well. Do I even need to tell you this is trying to ape Brain Age, or is it not obvious enough? Best of Tests highlights another stem of the depressing Nintendo dual screen tree, and that's either blatant ripoffs or watered down versions of more popular games. As you'd expect, in Best of Tests, we are answering a bunch of questions about patterns, math equations, words that don't belong, memory games, and things of the sort. It's quite apparent that our merry band of soldiers saw that Brain Age was rising in popularity at the time and made the assumption this is the new hot game genre, we must release one, early bird gets the worm. There's nothing kids love more than getting a video game that makes them do homework. If I had to guess, a lot of those anti-video game parents probably bought this for their child, telling them to go play it. Put your time into this, they say. It will prevent your brain from rotting. That's all those video games do. Then they go sit their ass on the couch and watch the news for 2 hours. According to them, all that SpongeBob and Pokemon turned their brain into a 300-year-old stump. So their child is forced to sit in a corner with their dunce cap on and do math problems instead of having fun. To be serious, whether you can say Best of Test is a terrible game or not is debatable. It's more of a pointless game than anything else. It does the job it sets out to do, but we're also playing this game on a DS, the console that Brain Age is on. Just go play Brain Age. There's no reason to play Best of Tests. Invest the money and time into the superior product. Plus, Brain Age is where children become adult children, because based on half the shit I see, growing up isn't even a real thing. We need to pretend it is though, and obsess over adult things, like monster trucks. And thankfully for us, there's a game that will do just that. Monster Trucks DS having a score of 33. I'm definitely not skipping over a game that had broken touchscreen controls, by the way. That could have been an emulation issue, I don't know, but that dragon refused to jump, so I couldn't play it. Not like it matters anyways, that's just kids stuff. We need monster trucks. This game gives you one job: race to the end of each track against a few other trucks that want to take your place at the helm. A goal they cannot accomplish because they're too busy rolling around and flipping over while you drive towards a low quality image of people in the stands, yelling and screaming for the green monster truck. Unfortunately, these other drivers are no match for you. You are all alone at the front. Truck A is too dominant. Truck B, Truck C, and Truck I can't see the name of thanks to my truck being melted onto the screen after I win. None of them hold a candle against Truck A. Truck A always wins. After you finish 5 races in these treacherous or hazardous environments, you don't win a trophy. No. You go back to the first track again, except this time you have 1 less lap to finish. And that's funny. If you look at the box, it clearly says 25 tracks to tear up, but I'm only seeing 5 that keep repeating. Even in the selection, there's only 5. This is a blatant lie. It also says back here 8 different trucks to master, which is a hefty claim if I say so myself. I was not exaggerating when I said Truck A is the most dominant 4-wheeled demon the trucking world has ever seen. You don't need to master anything. No matter the truck you play as, you always win, unless you get stuck in the ground freaking out all over the place. But even if it does happen, catching up to your opponents is more than easy thanks to how slow they drive. You feel like you're playing big rigs. You might as well be ripping up an empty track at this point. And similar to Homie Rollers, they have the audacity to give you an upgrade shop that I will say does affect how your truck controls, how fast it goes, whichever upgrades you bought. So I'll give Monster Trucks DS that. The upgrades are noticeable. Your only problem is the upgrades make an already brain-dead race even easier. So in a roundabout way, you are punished for buying them since you're making the game less fun comparatively. Monster Trucks DS isn't fun regardless of which choice you make. This game is definitely better than Homie Rollers. Not really saying much, I know, but we don't have a lot to work with here. We're comparing 2 moldy pieces of fruit. If you hold Monster Trucks DS against literally anything else, also if you consider how the back of the box has a blatant lie on it, you're choosing the other game every time, no questions asked. With all this said, there's still one final piece of the Nintendo console puzzle we have not filled yet. A superhero game. And what better guy to fill that hole than Superman? And Superman Returns getting a score of 33. So with this being a superhero title and all, is it a beat 'em up game, a story driven one? No, it's basically a board game. Our initial objective is us controlling our way through an asteroid belt careening towards the sun. We're then given the age-old Lex Luthor is being bad, stop him jargon as a story. Before we go after him though, we need to defend Metropolis. And that's where the intense action begins. On our touchscreen, you need to tap the blinking squares so your Superman piece can move. You have a limited amount of stamina per turn, and your goal for those said turns is to bring your Superman piece towards hostile icons on the board and play minigames. We are given absolute classics like flying around using X-ray vision to see through trucks looking for objects. When you locate them, you press a button, then do a QuickTime event. There's another one where you fly around the city, pressing one button to close portals, reaching all the network cores and press your one button to use the heat ray on it, fly around killing all the robots by pressing one button. Do you see a pattern yet? There are various objectives that are attempting to come off as different, but don't. In reality, you only have 2 to 3 minigames that are all reskinned. You're just flying around, moving towards the icons on your minimap, then press a button on them. You have the ones where you need to press a button, then do a QuickTime event. Lastly, we have the ones where you fly through the seizure tunnel or make your way towards a plane to do a QuickTime event. And worst of all, they recycle more than they already do. I played this one with the trucks probably 6 to 7 times in one playthrough. Whenever you happen to win one of the mini games, it helps decrease the amount of damage Metropolis takes at the end of every turn. You also need to complete every objective and beat every villain to reach the end game. That makes me sick to even call it an end game. So with the mention of the villains, you may be wondering at this point, do you actually fight anyone for real in this game? Yes, but also no. When you land on the icon for one of the villains, you do in fact see Superman fighting them, but you're not doing it. You're playing what is essentially a rhythm game to make Superman deal damage. You do not get a lick of real combat at all, period, throughout the entire game. The only opportunity you have to kill a bad guy is during certain minigames where they exist, and you fly by them and press a button, instantly killing them. Meaning, we have a Superman game where you basically do everything aside from fighting. Maybe that was the ruse. They didn't want to confine to societal norms and did this instead. All I can say is this was beyond boring. I unfortunately sat my ass down and played through the entire game. It took around an hour and a half. Once all the hostile icons are gone, you need to rescue Lois, flying through pencil scratch land, pressing A on 3 walls. Who expected that? I scooped up Lois, who was captured on Lex Luthor's yacht. Afterwards, we grab New Krypton, do a bunch of button commands to toss it into the fucking stratosphere, and game over. No boss fight, nothing. You get your ending and go on your merry way. I don't know if they were trying to do some anti-authoritarianism play, or just wanted to do something different. Whatever it was, this was not the move. No joke, I'd rather have it be 2D beat-em-up slop. And people always take that as a bad thing without realizing slop is alright sometimes. Not every game in the universe is going to be a 10 out of 10. If this was a 2D beat-em-up, or however they'd stylize it, yeah, Superman Returns would have been a mediocre game that no one remembered or cares about, but at least there would have been some input. It wouldn't be a remaster of a built-in game on a blue and green screen track phone. It's unbelievable how boring this was to sit through, which can also sadly be said about a large chunk of the DS library. As I said in the beginning, this console has too much trash on it, to the point I'm sure some people can name more bad games than good ones. It was a serious epidemic for Nintendo during this era. Today, we looked at Deal or No Deal, Godzilla, monster trucks, Jenga, Superman, all this garbage that's worthless. They aren't fun, they have little to no redeeming qualities, where people say, it's a handheld game, what do you expect? Seeming to not understand, even on the DS, games could be much, much better than what most of them are. When purely speaking on this list, if you fix the slow progression of Toy Shop, you could get that out of here. You can get Duke Nukem out, maybe Best of Tests can get out. It's just aping Brain Age, so it becomes debatable there. The rest can stay, or you could swap it out for one of the abundance of choices that exist. Let me know what you think of this list of games in the comments. Do you agree with it? Would you make any changes? Is Monster Trucks DS the greatest racing game ever made? Any answer but yes is wrong. Big ups to our channel supporters. If you want to join them and get early access to content, hit the join button alongside the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Thank you all so much for watching. Check out the playlist on screen for more videos just like this one. As always, take very good care of yourselves, and I hope to see you all again in the next video.